Well, good afternoon to you and yours, and those of you who might be heading home from work, just stepping out of the office, having done your 8 hour duty. Maybe you're getting in your car, you're already there and heading home, or maybe on the reverse side of things, leaving work or going to work. Either way, good to have you. Special good afternoon to all of folks who are with us by way of the live stream. Yes, we're streaming live on TV Carib and also Facebook. So, for those of you who would want to see the faces behind the conversation today, I'm here with a good friend of mine's, one who have made many a contribution to the type of discussions that we usually have here in St. Maarten. He at one point ran for office, so he has aspirations of leadership, and rightfully so because we need those type of resources in and around us. I'm talking about Jimmy Challenger. He's my guest for today this afternoon. He at one point sat on the board of Telem. He's no longer there. He's at present on the board of the hospital or health, whichever one. He would clarify. I stand to be corrected. And at one point, he was a banker involved in banking and at present still do some consultations on banking issues and economic affairs. So he's going to be my guest this afternoon. Uh, Happy to have him in. So without any further description or any further information, what else you need to know, you will get from him. Let me say special good afternoon to Mr. Challenger. Good to have you, and good afternoon to you. Welcome to In the View.
Good afternoon, Wendell. As always, it's a pleasure to be a contributor to St. Maarten, our general population, our people, as we would say, on both sides of the island, French and Dutch. It's just a pleasure to be here.
Okay. You said something to me that kind of stuck with me. I guess I didn't bring that to the fore earlier, but you do have some interest in education. When you mentioned that to me, you added that education is the cradle of our society. Um, Break that down for me, because when I think of cradle, I know what I'm thinking of. Other people might have different view.
Well, you know, when we speak of a cradle, we speak about a bed of a baby, an infant, right? Where infant, newborn baby would be placed by its mother, right, boy or girl, and the after holding that baby and the breastfeeding that takes place and the diaper change and everything else, um, the next level of comfort outside of human comfort is making sure that
And
that
baby
cradle
moves.
that cradle is safe at night. It has the right blankets, clean blankets, and the bed covers and little pillows and things on the side to comfort that baby during the sleep, correct? And the very same way, if you take education, education is the basis for information. Education is the basis for setting the ground rules as to where we want to go, how we want people to behave, how do we want people to treat each other, how do we want society on its whole, whether it's business, whether it's public, whether it's private or non-profit organization. Information is basically your cradle, and where do you establish your information from would be from your education system and all the other ancillary services that fall under education in every form or fashion. If you step out of education for a moment and you go into any business entity, if you go into banking and insurance, if you go into the hospital which you mentioned earlier, or you go in simply into the government building, information is what drives the activities that or services that have to be provided to the general public or to private citizens and so forth. So if we do not take care of education and information, then what you have is a passive chaos that we all become a norm to, that becomes part of our culture. And it's not to say that you can't function in the chaos. There's always some positives that come with chaos because it gives opportunity to also look at things out of the box. But at some point, to be able to have a general direction of where we are going as a nation, as a community, as a neighborhood, or within your own home, with if you have a mother and a father that don't agree on the manner in which, or the rules of order, or how you're going to educate, how you're going to love your family, how you're going to feed your family, whether the table is going to have Kentucky on it every night, or whether it's going to have a balance that you say, okay, we do the quote unquote less healthy food. I don't want to call it per se junk food, in the sense that a lot of what we consider to be junk food, even those entities are beginning to introduce um, food in their menu that is a little bit more healthy because people are becoming more health conscious, right? But in the whole, you have to decide, if you're going to be cooking Monday through Friday, and on weekends, then you go out to a restaurant or what have you. But the moment that you don't have the education and you don't have the agreements in place of where you're going, then the family structure breaks. Um, Emotions get involved, and when that family structure breaks, it then spills over into other areas of society. So a father may go to his job place frustrated, a mother goes to her workplace feeling uncomfortable, the kids go to the into the school system and don't get along with their peers for whatever reason, because they're going through their emotion, and it spills over into the classroom, then affects the teacher that is there. So to bring it to a nutshell, the education is the basis for us to be able to um, sustain the things that are going well, maintain the things that are going well, but also to tweak the things that we feel that need to improve. And if you permit me, um, while I answered your question, my thoughts were also on expressing sincere condolences to the entire community of St. Maarten, who, in one form or another, may have lost someone over the past, from the beginning of this year and even last year. We have experienced quite some losses of key persons, and I reach out again to the Wati family with the passing of Joyce Wati, the business owner of Barefoot Restaurant and Kid Zone and what have you. And I specifically bring her up in the sense that this is a lady that understood community. This is a lady that, through organizations such as the Lions Club and just simple birthday parties that I would have there with my children or my godsons, and the level of care and the level of engagement, the level of educating others and showing others how to do something, the advice that would be given by this lady and her family when you're planning something. It was never about, okay, you can afford to keep a party there and then that's it, pay me, walk away. She would tell you, no, yes, you're planning this party, but isn't this part over here not matching with that over there? Do you really need it? Or why don't you try this product? Is going to come out less expensive. Or try this type of finger food because this is the age of the child at this time and they're not going to eat that heavy food. Or invite older folks to have this type of menu. So what I'm trying to get at is, in every facet of business, and when you look at how Joyce handled her business, it was about educating people. Um, and again, we look also at the situation with Ryan Gums, who we again extending condolences to that family as well, where here's a young man who has lost his life, who was not uh, uh, the main cause of this
At
accident,
fault. He was not at
and
fault.
who basically, I mean, I'm fortunate enough to know some of the family members, um, and we are seeing what is happening. His passing has become a catalyst for discussion of how we tackle various things within our society, and sometimes it takes uh, you know um, an impact like this to get us to come to reality as to what is it exactly is happening around us and how we want to change. You see, one of the MPs, MP mayors, I believe, speaking about the Ryan Gums law. And these are the things. It's not every tragedy needs to remain as such, but we need to look at the positives that is coming out of it.
Joyce, as far as Joyce is concerned, she was just an engaged citizen, no question,
Yes, very much in every facet.
in
So,
every area
yeah,
of where she was involved.
correct,
Uh, about
correct.
Ryan Grams, that is a real unfortunate situation, but so much surrounding it in terms of how people see it, and it brings back some bad memories as well. But these things are just part of what our community is been experiencing, and it can be unsettling for some. But I guess we'll work through it. But I hope that we don't just deal with it in a knee jerk way, because this is a deep rooted problem that we need to
It is.
fix.
It is, and again, it comes down to the education being the cradle of your society, and the information, and how are we going to begin to look at our traffic laws? How are we going to look at the fact that there's limited roads, limited space, quite some congestion. It used to be in December primarily, right, and in August when at the start of the school. But right now it's basically all year round that we have a continuous traffic. So things like this, events like this that impact us, should also be utilized rightfully to as an example and to improve.
I mentioned education and the remark you made, and referring to the cradle part, though, as much as it might be the cradle, the bedrock of or the development of our society, there got to be outside care as well to bring this from uh, cradle to some level of maturity, and it got to be education. So I like the connection, but I don't want it to stay in the cradle.
No, it's education has various levels, just as a child would grow and go into various based on their age, and they what you call what we used to call kindergarten, which is now early stimulation. And the names change, but it stays the very same. 0 to 4, and then you have primary education. From 5, 6 going up to age 12, more or less, and then of course
Secondary.
secondary and so on, and university and what have you. I was fortunate enough to have had, and I still have, my father with me, who's LF Matthew Leopold Roy. Most people know him as Roy Matthew, who is an educator, retired educator. I take an opportunity to congratulate him and the other teachers that were honored at Emilio Wilson on the 1st of July.
By voices.
Correct, by voices, Mrs. Dr. Yadira Boston, and a few other key persons, including the President of Parliament, and the list goes on. And there were quite some teachers from the St.Maarten Academy there that were my teachers at the time. They were honored for their service. So I grew up around a father that was in the classroom. I knew, I had to help move the books around at the end of the school year, clean up the classroom.
You used to do that?
I used to help him out at the school.
Well, he was my colleague, but I never see you there.
Well, I would tell you he had the keys, and that's fine. I love this conversation. I love when you come with these type of questions because he had the keys to the gate at that time. That was before Angelo Drivers was principal. You had Marcella Hazel.
That's correct.
From that time. So he had the keys. I think I'm giving out a little too much here, but anyway, he had the keys. He would go into the garden on the weekends, and there was a garden in the back that
That's
the
correct.
restaurant used to use. So all the tomatoes and
We're grown right
that
there.
were grown, the sweet potatoes and all of that. So I experienced that in education with him, and of course your own personal experiences. I taught at there was a program once at the vocational school, school that was a program that was put together specifically for young adults that did not finish high school.
Okay.
They didn't have any kind of certificate or diploma to be able to use it to continue forth. And that vocational training program, I was fortunate to teach marketing and communications there. You had people like Vernon Richards at the time that was heading the program. And then I also taught at USM for some semesters there, also in marketing and communications. That time, Francio Guadalupe was in charge at USM. And it gave me a sense of, you know, what we are really experiencing compared to the time when my dad was in the classroom and now. And of course, I have my three daughters, Caitlin, Charlotte, and Sienna, who, the eldest just entered secondary school. She's now going to the second form. And the other two are still in primary, fifth grade, and right, going into what? Well, I always get confused with now we do group 4 and group 1, and they're counting kindergarten as 1 and 2, and then it goes 3 and 4 and things like that. But the education system has gone through a lot, but one basic thing remains: we continue to be impacted by our European counterparts in the kingdom, or even as close as Curacao, where most of the curriculum and the books and all the material that you need to as a basis for education, and even the online platforms are developed by people outside of the country. Programs change in connection with the social norms and values and education needs of those countries, right? Of Holland and Curacao. And I think while we have made quite a lot of improvements over the years, I believe that there's much more that needs to be done to ensure that within our curriculum, so our social studies class, our geography class, our let's say business economics or finance and accounting classes, you may have your international books and online information, but we need to be able to have discussions, let's say, with the education department, the education minister, to go in a direction where you have certain courses within each subject that are directly in the interest of the people of St. Maarten, right? We have many traffic issues. Your social studies should reflect some of that. We are facing a lot of pressures from the growth, the economic growth, which is bringing about an increase in the production of pollution, right? And I say this in the sense that the garbage that we, produce compared to in the 80s and now is something of discussion. It continues to be a discussion and education around it. You see there are many projects about fixing what we call the dump and so forth, right? So at the end of the day, to make my point, education does not only have to be dictated by the powers that may outside of St. Martin, but we need to take control also and guide the type of information and education and learning and that is going to help us to cope and understand our political
Our present
history,
situation.
our institutions, our roads, our network, and so forth into the education system.
You, you see, what strikes me most as far as education is concerned, and that's why I feel that as much as I can understand the relation of it being the cradle of our society, education, the cradle of our society, it speaks of how important it is to supposedly our development. But I don't want to stay in the cradle. No, since 10, we accepted the responsibility of the Ministry of Education. And you alluded just now to, you didn't say it the way I'm going to say it, but you mentioned that it is influenced basically by someone else as to what our system really should be or how it should be set up. Uh, there was one point, because I was in the education system as well, we used to follow some guidelines to be able to connect after you've reached secondary level with what is the system that is present in Holland. Curso were not mentioned, but in Holland, so that our folks who leave here and go to Holland to further their
There's a
studies,
bridge.
they
Yeah.
can fit in.
Yes.
But we are in a different place at this moment because as much as our constitution says that English and Dutch is
The official
the official
languages.
languages of St. Martin, I don't see Dutch in our schools, even the government schools, at the same level of English and vice versa. They should be treated not as a second language, but on the same level of proficiency. I think if that happens, it would put us in a real versatile place where our students would be able to do both. There are those who have left St. Martin, went to the Netherlands, and in order for them to go to the Dutch school system there, they had to turn around and do a whole year of Dutch to be able to reach the level. So, because the books and everything that are presented is in Dutch. Yes, they have international schools in Holland where a lot of people transition as well, which is good. But I think we need to do more when it comes to languages, and I wonder how much the Ministry of Education is involved in the current system we have, which we inherited from the past, rather than us be in control to adjust to meet our present system.
Look, that's a very complex thought in the sense that if we only had one language throughout our entire educational system, let's say we were just plain English, right? No other language, not influenced by the Dutch, Papiamento, Spanish, and whatever else. Let's just, for a moment, make it very basic, right? You would still have to have a process to arrive at an ability that you can read, write, and comprehend that language, because it's three levels. It's being able to read, being able to speak that language as well, because there are people that can read but cannot pronounce. They do it in their mind quietly, and also to read, to understand. But to be able to do that, the very basic is, of course, using your dictionary. And I'm bringing it down way back when, right? Using your dictionary and finding out the meaning of the words, and as you go, you learn. We would use an encyclopedia and stuff like that. That's old school, but today it's at your fingertips, right? So the encyclopedia now is technically no more. They do have them online. There are programs of encyclopedia, but when you look at Google and all the other search engines that are there and platforms, you don't go into the store to go and purchase an encyclopedia or a dictionary for that matter. Today you get it, so it's online. You do a quick, and if you use AI, You pretty much finish your homework, within 15 minutes, right? But again, if you don't provide the guidance as a parent or as a learning institution, then it's AI that is doing every single thing for that individual. AI at the moment is based primarily on information that comes from the bigger nations, so to speak, right? From Europe, information banks, and primarily the United States. And it takes, whenever you ask a question, it's primarily into the information based on the thought process, so to speak, or the cultural norms and values of the bigger nations, and rightfully so, because we as small island states don't have that kind of um, background. We are getting into it. We are running behind the progress, right? And when you multiply that now into other languages, it becomes more complex, because now you are giving yourself, you're spreading yourself more into other areas of speech and understanding and comprehension. But at the end of the day, it's about reading. It's about involving yourself, and encouraging our society to read, to be able to understand as you go. And there's nothing wrong with having multiple languages at all. I think we tend to make it like it's a this fear that, because you have two languages going on, that you're not able to learn and
Manage
comprehend,
both.
because you
Yes.
should only have one, and then it's more easier. Look, I speak four languages. I know many other people that speak four languages. Um, I know others that are very dominant in French, because they live on the French side, but they're English. So you never 100% manage one language um, against the others when you're multilingual. But learning different languages opens and broadens your mind when you're traveling. Nowadays, you can use AI. You use your phone, and it does translations for you. You go inside of a hospital in Colombia or the United States, and the doctor is speaking a language that you don't understand. You have that special tool, language translator, and they speak Spanish into it, and the AI platform then gives you back in your own language. I don't think the knowing multiple languages or being in a household with multiple languages is the issue. I think it's more that we have lost focus, and this is a worldwide thing. We have lost focus because everything is going so quickly and so much at your fingertips with your phone. No one is anymore in that old school of finishing a novel, so to speak. You're gonna have the novel. You have the program. You're in your car, and you just press one button, and when you look, it's the voiceover is coming, and telling you what's inside in the book. It's giving you the summary. It's practically doing everything for you, and this is one of my things that I say. I welcome AI. I love AI. I think it's part of innovation. It's here to stay, but we also need to take a conscious decision as to how are we going to manage this new tool that has now taken over parenting. It has taken over who's putting your kid to sleep at night. You may be saying good night, but the child is under the blanket, playing with the phone, still going into 10 and 11 o'clock, and then when you look, they're tired. The rest is not there. There has to be a balance. If you look at there's one Scandinavian country, I can't remember which one it is now. They are busy having a study to basically ask themselves, listen, do we need to pull back some of this type of way that we are teaching our students? Do we need to do it differently and bring back some of the basics into the school, because it's also causing health issues as well. So it's a wider combination, but it requires dialogue, serious dialogue, and it requires decision making at the very top.
I think you come full circle there, because that is what I think is really missing. We need to look at our educational system and realize, or at least survey, whether it's doing justice to the type of byproduct that comes out of our system. because by and large we are continuing to do what we were doing all along rather than taking control to determine, well, hey, we have to arrest our situation and make sure that it has a foundation so
Mm-hmm.
that our students that we produce can be better off. Okay, allow me some time to just take a quick break. This is In the View, your Wednesday afternoon interactive talk program here with yours truly. I'm speaking with Jimmy Challenger, who comes very equipped to have these kind of discussions, and hopefully you can benefit from what we have talked about. Let me take a break quickly and come right back. Jimmy Challenger is here with me, folks, and we're having a conversation here in that should be education. Did you say we have a call? All right, let's see what's there. Just call it. All right, let's leave it for what it is. Um, that was weird. Anyhow, we covered a lot of education, but there is something else that I believe that I wanted to spend some time on, and that has a lot to do with the resourcefulness that is available on St. Maarten right now when it comes to many, like the police officers. They can't get enough people to fit to serve in that capacity. We have the Coast Guards. We have just of late some of the high councils of states. We see some of the people who are serving in that capacity. They're gone or they're overage. Some of them are retired. These critical positions need to be filled. I wonder where, or yourself is a perfect example. I mean, you was well, you aspired to become a politician. You was involved with the National Alliance and everything else. But I wonder, aside from serving on these boards, what else that you can be available for in terms of a resource and these critical positions that need to be filled.
Well, first and foremost, I've always said it. If you go back to any interview that I've had on this platform or any other platform or in public speaking and discussions with people, is that the love for the country that I have remains. Yeah, my parents did um, everything in their power, everything in their way of being about St. Maarten, left me in a wanting and in a position of always being there to support and assist. And I also want to extend and say that in that capacity of supporting, helping, and assisting, and again, I mentioned active member of the Lions Club, board member of the St. Maarten Hospital at this time, and everyone knows that, along with the other board members, how challenging that position can be. Um, or as a former banker, you're helping people with their financial information and how to go about with the various applications of mortgage or car loan or just general family financial planning. I have remained always as a consultant, too often unpaid, but I have been just at the forefront of always helping. If someone is starting a business, if someone is in need of some basic guidance, and sometimes people just need a 5 minute discussion as to where they should go and how they should go about something. And the beautiful thing about remaining active in the community, one, you're able to learn as well. You are teaching somebody something, but in the process of helping them, you don't always have all the answers, right? And you learn as well. The second thing about it is when you have to find the answers, you meet new people. So your network becomes larger, people begin to understand you, and you also begin to understand them and the institutions and how they work. And third, you become more of what we need, which is remaining positive. And I know And for those that are listening out there may think, okay, is my life perfect? Definitely not. I have had many challenges, and particularly over the last 3 years or so, where your parents are aging. My dad is 80. My mom is 71. They have quite some health challenges that will come for all of us. We are not here forever. Our spirit, I strongly believe, lives on as a devout Catholic. But the vessel in which our spirit resides, it will at some point give way and say it's time for full rest, right? So we have those challenges. You have your family challenges. The children are growing. There's separation. There's things that happen that brings about challenges. But I've always believed that your fundamental core of who you are, what your parents instilled in you, that becomes your guiding compass. No matter what family situation you find yourself in, no matter what criticisms come, no matter what the institutions that guide or let's say are there for social services and needs and what have you, if your family structure changes, I believe that it is very important to maintain your core values, because in the end, the truth will always come. The consequences, good or bad, will play out. And in the end, you critics will either say, you know what, come full circle and say, wow, I misjudged, or they reward you and say, I'm glad that you took your stand. Um, and again, that comes from whether people know you or not, and in what capacity do they know you. So to go back again to your beginning statement, and in terms of capacity, and in terms of we see that the police is having challenges replacing people, but so are the schools with the teachers, and so is the hospital with certain nurses and doctors and medical staff. It is again, we are living in a global society. We are faced with other nations. If you look at Anguilla, St. Kitts and Nevis, and even Curacao is going to go through its, if I may say, I don't live on that island, but its second boom in tourism, large boom in the sense from the World Cup that just happened. Now everything is Blue Wave and Curacao, and you see where that tourism product is going to propel into a much higher, hopefully bringing in higher income as well for the people of Curacao. Um, but in the end, because all these other smaller islands and bigger countries are also in need of providing basic services, just like us, they have to put their healthcare in place. They have to have their educational system, their schools and classrooms in order. They also need to make sure that they have asphalt for their roads, to make sure that oil and whatever else that is not produced in the country comes timely, to be able to have your electricity, for example. As you know, we still have our electricity production in vast need of oil. Um, we are in a competitive global market where everyone else needs what you need, the very same resources. And the only way to ensure that you are able to cope with whatever shortages there's going to be is how prepared you are as a government, as a institution, or as a community and as a family. I'll give you an example. We have had challenges over the years with um, doctors that want to come here and practice. But you have what we call the BIC registration. You have, on top of that, and the immigration, right? So the labor permits that you need to have in place for that individual, and so the working permit, and then you also have the residency permit. When those things begin to become a bigger challenge than need be, what happens to that individual that you're going to hire? They take a decision and say, look, I don't want to be in this, right? If you can't get my working permit and my residency permit in order, how am I going to register properly at the civil registry? And how am I going to take, if it's a person coming with a family, and put them into the education system? Because everywhere that you go to register to put your children in school, or if you're going to open a bank account to settle yourself, or you're going to sign a rental contract agreement and your bank account number needs to be in there where you're going to pay.
You
But
need to have these things in
Correct.
place.
So the basic start of it is, where is our processing? Where is it going? And where do we need to tweak it to ensure that from the very beginning, the experience of these expats that are coming, that everyone else wants, how can we make that experience better, but not only for them, but also for ourselves? How can we ensure that we know what vacancies are coming? I mean, this is a long, winding, year after year discussion.
And it seems like you're talking more from maybe because you are on the board of the hospital, you are seeing something that could
well,
be a challenge.
Correct. You see
than-
that challenge as a board member when your executive branch would tell you you have certain vacancies and there's challenges to fill it, or you found the persons, but the mechanisms of the residency and work permit is taking longer than planned.
I want to. I think I want to segue from that for a second, and ask you, where do you see yourself in the growing St.Maarten society with its challenges? I know you tried your hand at politics. That's one way of being able to help put things in place.
Yeah.
But that requires that you get the kind of public support
Right.
so that you can be more engaged. Where do you see yourself as a resource?
Well, first of all, to answer the political question for you, I have not been on a political list, I believe, for the last 3 elections. I think
Does that mean you no longer wish to
the,
ask the public for your support with a
it I've come to learn and understand and appreciate that our political system is primarily based on family. It's primarily based on
popularity?
yes, it's a popularity contest, and not necessarily always on the character of the person, the educational background or experience, and it's a more social list of people that are saying, look, you know me, I'm going to run, and I know you, and it becomes so it requires a lot of financial resources, it requires a lot of lobbying, it requires heavy sponsorship from the business community, and that is where political reform is required, because there are many others, and I can give you names of very well experienced people in our community that I can almost put my head down on on a rock that they would be able to do the very same level or even much higher than what we currently get from some persons that are holding public office, right? It's not every person that is holding public office at this moment is necessarily doing a bad job. I think we have inherited over the years, every government has inherited an accumulative set of challenges that have not been resolved at the core since 10 and maybe even prior. The dump that we have today, it didn't arrive with this government. It didn't arrive with the previous one. It was there before 10.
Sure.
The road network has been a discussion forever. We know what the solutions are when it comes to traffic in the South Reward Basin. We know that a road has to be built over that hill into Dutch Quarter. We know this, right? The question is, why is it not done? And we have many different reasons, valid reasons.
Why do you think it has not been done?
I think, well, it's first of all, it's, if you look at it from a basic standpoint of view, because I've never seen any documents on it, just thinking out loud, you would first have to check and see, where can that road be cut in the sense of from a geographical perspective, your flora and fauna, what is there? Can the ground that is there sustain that road, right? And once you've mapped that out, who owns the land? Is it government owned? Is it privately owned? Is it just a road that has to give access to other people? And then third, you want to know, okay, if you do have the access and the how you say, the goodwill of the owners, or if it's owned by government, can we afford to pay the persons that own it? And secondly, can we afford the actual construction of that road? And in what manner are we going to build it? Are we going to make sure that we have sidewalks? Are we going to make sure this time that we also have a bicycle lane, right? Even though that hill is quite steep, I don't know, some people are very athletic and maybe are able to, but or at least a motorbike lane to ensure that we are tackling that specific area, and minimizing what is happening now with people using their motorbikes, right? So that we really look at the road network. So I think those are the things, that the flow that you would go into. If it's a case that we cannot afford it, then the question would be, if it's privately owned, where are the interests of the property owners? And yes, not everyone is like Jimmy Challenger, who's going to give consulting work for free. And they want to be compensated for land. This is no joke. It has an economic value. But at what point do you arrive at a solution that is beneficial to the persons or families or what have you that own that land, against the wider community, in the best interest of St. Maarten, that road network is built? We can speak about maybe reallocating certain schools to other areas, but even that in itself, again, is another logistical thing. It costs money, and we see that at this moment we're still dealing with, at least I know one of the Catholic schools is still dislocated, and that building has to be finalized and things like that. So we still have issues dating back.
Which Catholic school do you refer to?
I can't remember the name of it, but there's one school, and I don't want to misspeak anything. The school is under construction, and that school has been split up. The kids have been split up into the other Catholic primary schools, right? To be able to finalize and ensure that those kids.
So you're saying there's a possibility of that being relocated out
well
of the
well
area
what I'm
where it's
saying is that whatever you do, you it takes time to get it done. And if you look at what we've been through, from 10 and then the major hurricane in 2017 of Irma, we're still recovering from Irma, and that's why I mentioned that school.
Yeah.
That school got damaged, I believe, during that period. So we have to take stock of what is it that we are working on. What are the critical things that we really need? One of them is the traffic congestion that has now become at the forefront. The other is the garbage collection situation, and the third is education and your health system.
Yeah. I think the willingness to make hard decisions, even at this time, is what we are not seeing. But like you said, we know a lot has to be done, whether we can afford it now or not. But to take that ultimate decision, tough as it might be, I'm not seeing that effort coming from those who are interested with leadership.
The tough decisions would be easier decisions when education and information is put at the forefront. When we have discussions, for example, about the changes in the family structure, right? We are impacted now. We have a totally different family structure. You have single moms, single dads, and everything else in between, right? The differences, the way the genders describe themselves, and who who feels how what has to be done, our moral compass has changed. Is the moral compass wrong? Not necessarily. Is it also right? Not necessarily. It all depends what is happening within your household and what you consider to be important. We have Dutch people that come, they have their norms and values. You have Jamaicans, Indians, and noem maar op, like they say in Dutch, right? It's now we are the true melting pot, New York City of the Caribbean. We have all kinds of things going on the island, but we don't have a collective roadmap that is adopted by all.
So those who come have to transform themselves
Correct.
into
We,
the
we
system.
we don't have that. We don't have and I keep using that word, that Dutch word, because I like it very much. It encompasses what I try to say. Inburgering process, right? And your ability to tell someone you've arrived today, 8th of July, you must go into this course for 1 month or 3 months, I don't know, and I'm going to tell you who Wendell Moore is and his program. I'm going to tell you who's the current president of the St.Maarten Lions Club, Elton Richardson. I'm going to tell you who are the board members of the hospital. I'm going to tell you our road network. I'm going to tell you how we drive. I'm going to tell you where you can go to the market on which day and which supermarkets we have and what our carnival is about.
And that would serve as a foundation
that-
for that person
Correct.
to craft
That
themselves.
has to happen, because when that happens, right, when they are visiting institutions, when they're driving on the road or they see our flag, they have to know how to respect our flag. What do we do with our flag? What do we do on St. Martin's Day? If I am not telling you what you have to do, this is, and I bring it down to the family. I bring it down to the family because of experiences that I've had, that if in your family structure, in whichever form that may be, the communication breaks down, then that goes helter skelter. It affects the family. The same way it spills over to your community and the people on your street, the wider community. You go then into the wider society and government and institutions and what have you. We have to take a decision of where we're going and what we want, but we also need to steer the ship for persons who are coming here for the first time. And because it has never been done, we need to go back to say, even though you're living here already, even though you even a St. Martiner, let's have that discussion. This is what we expect from you as a citizen.
Because lots of people come here and remain holding on to their norms and values that they picked up from the society in which they live.
Correct, but they're also
there's-
picking up because of the driving force of AI and the social media platform.
Yeah.
They're also picking up norms and values of the entire world.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. The thing is though, I will sum it up this way: we have to establish what we want and what we will stand for, based on our established laws.
And there has to be a buy-in. Like I say, you have one way is the inburgering process. The other is your educational system itself.
yes.
What do you expect? What do you want out of it? And also, what do you want the expectations of a visiting tourist, right? Even if you say the visiting tourist is here for a short period, but we are introducing, for example, I believe it's a $1 fee, tourist fee, or whatever tourist levy or whatever's coming up right now, whatever the mathematics behind it is, right? Even within that, you want to educate the tourists as to, something. Every time you give us that dollar, we are building this and we are doing this. So there has to be a buy-in and an engagement.
And I'm running out of time, so I gotta go. But let me just say that what you just mentioned, I see that very much as a need, especially in our business community, that they understand that it's important for them to put money back into the community so that we can keep uphold the community so that they can benefit from it.
I agree, but there are many businesses that are giving. There are many that are giving. I think the challenges for businesses are they also face their own bureaucracies. They also face the economic changes. You see the war, what the war has caused in terms of costs. And they also need to be, we need to show also some level of gratitude back to the businesses as well. We often see the businesses as a way to get, but what are we doing in return as well?
Well, we
for them?
support those businesses. We buy from them.
You
we
buy and
spend
you
our money
support,
there.
you buy and
So-
you support, but there's also recognition. You can have forums, you can, the things are happening, but it's a two-way street. Other than going into the business and supporting, you can also through education and information also inform that business what can be done different to improve the service as well.
Thanks for joining me at the table. I gotta end it there because I'm out of time. But these kind of conversations are sure good to have because it gives us an idea that whatever needs to get done, maybe we need to start working towards getting it done rather than just giving it lip service. Mr. Jimmy Challenger, thank you so much for your time and for spending it with me on Interview. And those persons who are still driving home and are listening, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next Wednesday at 5, folks. So an invitation is extended for you to join me then. In the meantime, I have to end it here. I want to thank Mr. Challenger once again. And it's time for us to go over to the news. So I'll say goodbye to all of you. Thank you again, sir.
Thank you.
All right, that's it.